When we talked about chemical change, we talked about the atoms rearranging and forming a new substance. So now we're going to see how we put that on paper, reading like a chemist. So a chemical formula tells us the type of elements and the number of atoms in a compound. This is the chemical formula for water, H2O. This is a symbol for hydrogen, and this little number right here is a subscript. It follows the hydrogen. That means there are 2 hydrogen atoms. This is a subscript for oxygen. Now, we don't see any numbers there. However, if there's not a number, assume there's a 1, okay? So 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom. Here's calcium hydroxide. Hydroxide's in parentheses because it's a grouping, and we'll talk about that later. But this does tell us that there's 1 calcium atom, and OH is actually not on the periodic table. It's a polyatomic ion, and that's the hydroxide ion. And because it's in brackets, it stays together. And this tells us right here that there are 2 hydroxide two hydroxide ions. So this is how we talk about our compounds. And then our chemical equation gives us information about the reaction. Okay, so this is water. We have hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, and that makes water. Now this isn't balanced, and we'll talk about balancing a little later, but I would put a 2 there and a 2 there, so I have the same number of atoms there. That is conservation of mass, and that's a law. So let's outline what we have here. Basically, at the beginning, I put these 2 together and they react. So they're called reactants. And this means this is what they're going to form. And this little arrow right here is called the yield sign. Okay, so reactants yield products. And this is how we diagram this chemical equation. You'll need to know that reactants are on this side and products are on this side. An easy way to remember that is when you make something, when you put things together in a factory, what comes out the end of the factory? Products come out the end of the factory. So maybe that will help you remember that products are on the right side. Okay, and again, that's 2, those are subscripts. We'll talk about these big numbers in front later. You won't be tested on that. Coefficients. Okay. And then we have already mentioned state symbols. This tells us what state the matter's in. So my hydrogen is a gas, my oxygen's a gas, and it forms water in the liquid state. Depending on the temperature, water could be a gas, but right now we're saying that it is coming out as a liquid product. And our state symbols, solid, liquid, and gas. The new one is AQ. Okay, so AQ, aqueous, and that just means dissolved in water. Okay?